This and That with Me and You is a podcast where we discuss some pretty dark and disturbing things.
I talk about true crimes and cults and a lot of death.
And I talk about the creepier stuff like paranormal, supernatural, and cryptids.
Viewer discretion is advised while listening to us. Warning.
All right, let's get into this. We are on episode 18.
Episode 18.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So you got any updates for anybody?
Well, the cat ran away last Monday and then came back yesterday. So
Yep.
there's that. Lilith,
Mm-hmm.
one of the females,
Yeah.
was quite worried about her. But she's home and had a bath. So
Yeah. How'd that go for you?
she left vampire bite marks on my arm.
It sure looks like it, yeah.
Yeah.
She got her pretty good. Yeah. So, how's the new job going for you?
Good, I like it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Complicated, but I like it.
Well, that's good. How about Annie? How's school going for Annie?
Annie had her first week of school and it seems to have gone well.
That's good. Good to hear.
So that's about it, really.
Okay. We we tried to get started on the basement, but that did not go well.
No, we did not get very far.
No. The stripper stuff seemed to work, but not all that well. And then somebody suggested using a heat gun. That feels like it didn't do shit either. I got a grinder stone thing. That didn't seem to do much either. So
No,
it's
just make a big mess.
It's gonna be a process.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So I think that's about all the updates we've got. So, what story you got for us this week?
I'm going to be doing Paying Respect to Those Who Died Dumbly,
Oh, okay.
Part 5.
All right. All righty. So, more interesting and dumb ways to die.
Mm-hmm.
So, who's first?
Alexander of Greece.
Okay.
King of Greece from June 11th, 1917 until October 25th, 1920.
All right. A 3-year span. Okay.
Mm-hmm. The second son of King Constantine I. He succeeded his father in 1917 during World War I.
Okay.
His second son, Alexander, succeeded his father because his father and older brother, Crown Prince George, were pushed into exile by the Entente powers and the followers of Eleftherios Venizelos.
Elephant did who with the pharaohs?
Anyway, so the Entente powers, known as the Triple Entente, was the informal understanding between the Russian Empire, the French Third Republic, the UK, and Ireland.
Okay.
So they had an alliance, and then they also had an alliance with Eleftherios Venizelos. And at the time, he was the prime minister of Greece.
Okay.
So King Constantine and his son George did something to piss them off, so they sent them to exile.
Ah.
Alexander was next in line to be the king of Greece, but because he was not raised to be king and had no political experience, this Elef guy, that's what I'm going to call him.
Oh, you don't like elephant pharaohs?
No.
Oh, okay.
This elephant guy, his followers stripped him of his power and effectively imprisoned him in his palace.
Oh.
Yeah. And Elef, as the prime minister, was pretty much the ruler of Greece with the support of the Entente.
Oh, okay.
Alexander was reduced to the status of basically puppet king, like just ceremonial king.
Yeah, somebody else is pulling the strings.
But he did support his troops during the war against the Ottoman Empire and Bulgaria. Also, under his reign, the territory of Greece increased. Following the winning of World War I by his allies and the early stages of the Greco-Turkish War.
Okay.
So Alexander controversially married a commoner named Aspasia Manos.
Yeah, apparently royalty don't get to deal with the local folk.
Yeah, in 1919. So that provoked a major scandal, forcing them to leave Greece for several months.
Ah, uh-oh.
And soon after the couple's return, on October 2nd, 1920, Alexander was injured while walking through the grounds of the Toy estate.
Okay.
A pet Barbary macaque, a monkey,
Oh, all right.
yes, um, was attacked by the king's German shepherd, Fritz.
Oh,
Uh-huh. And while attempting to separate the two of them, another monkey attacked the king and bit him deeply in the leg and torso.
ow.
Okay. Eventually, servants arrived and chased away the monkeys.
Oh, okay.
The king's wounds were promptly cleaned and dressed, but not cauterized.
That,
He did not consider this incident serious enough to be publicized at all or really investigated any further.
right.
That evening, his wounds became infected and he developed a fever and sepsis set in.
Oh, shit.
And his doctors considered amputating his leg, but no one wanted to be responsible for doing that.
Right.
So this part is kind of sad. On October 19th, he grew delirious and called out for his mother.
Oh.
However, the Greek government refused to let her return from exile to see her son.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And his
Damn.
grandmother, the Queen Dowager Olga, was eventually allowed out of exile to be near him, but she was delayed due to rough waters.
Oh, shit.
And she arrived 12 hours after his death.
Damn, that sucks.
And he died of sepsis.
Speaking of injuries that probably people don't really tend to care about that are serious, I forgot to talk about what happened to me this week, where I opened up the trailer and all that freaking insulation fell on me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I dislocated my knee and my shoulder, and apparently tweaked my neck pretty good. There was a doctor on site. He looked me over, said I was all right, put my shoulder back, put my knee back. That was bad. Anyway, who's next? God.
Yeah. I just don't like this stuff because I already worry about you being on the road as it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, George Edward Stanhope Molyneux, 5th Earl of Carnarvon.
Got enough names? Jeez.
Yeah. So he was at first really into breeding horses and racing horses. In fact, his family still does that today.
Oh, okay.
Actually, his grandson, the 7th Earl, was racing manager to Queen Elizabeth II from 1969 until his death in 2001.
Oh.
Yeah. So Lord Carnarvon was a keen motor car driver, and in 1903 he was in a serious car accident in Germany,
Ouch.
and he never fully recovered from this accident.
Oh no.
After a lengthy recovery in hospital, his doctors recommended that he become a snowbird, is what we would call it in the States,
Right.
and live in a warmer climate than England in the winter.
Yeah.
From then on, his wife, Lady Canavarn, and him spent their winters in Egypt.
That's definitely a warmer climate.
Yes, it is. Because of this, he became an enthusiastic amateur Egyptologist.
Okay.
And in 1907, he started sponsoring excavations in Egypt. And he hired Howard Carter to supervise these excavations. In November of 1922, with finances from the Lord, Howard discovered King Tutankhamun's tomb.
King Tut.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, the Lord made sure he was present to explore the tomb himself on several occasions.
Oh, I bet he did.
And at some point shortly before March 19th, he got in 1923. He got a nasty mosquito bite during his travels in Egypt.
Damn.
On March 19th, it became infected after he nicked the bite with a razor while shaving.
Oh, damn.
Yes. And he died in Cairo on April 5th, 1923, from what they called blood poisoning that progressed to pneumonia.
I was gonna say at least that's better than West Nile virus, but I don't think it's any better.
Yeah, and it was speculated by the newspapers at the time that he was a victim of the curse of Tutankhamun.
Oh, I could see that.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, I can see that.
for sure.
Too many people mess around with these mummies and shit, and they done the world over. I'm telling you.
Yes. He's also like responsible for some not so great things about England being in Egypt, like all of Egypt being in England.
Yeah. I
Egypt's
mean,
artifacts.
let's
And
talk about it. Like the Museum of Natural History in England. What belongs to them? None of it.
so also when they first discovered the tomb and like actually considered it open
Yeah.
to the public, he gave exclusive rights to the New York Times
Hmm.
and not giving any of like the local Egypt newspapers the opportunity to cover it. He received like huge backlash and they had to like stop excavating for a couple of months until he apologized.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the to be I mean not in his defense because he still took all that shit away from Egypt. I mean he was part of that. He did that to get more funding, giving the Times the exclusive
Yeah.
rights. Yeah.
I mean, shit ain't free,
Yeah.
and they gotta have some kind of sponsorship.
Right. So Frank Hayes, 1901 to June 4th, 1923, an Irish horse trainer and stableman. Frank got his opportunity to become a jockey for a race, but he
Woo.
was a little overweight to meet the requirements for
Oh.
jockeys then. So, in a short period of time, he went from 142 pounds to 130 pounds. So, it was said in the newspapers.
Yeah.
Um,
12 pounds ain't too bad.
yeah, so the day of the big race came at the Belmont Park racetrack in Elmont, New York.
Okay.
Frank was due to ride a 20-1 outsider called Sweet Kiss,
Oh.
owned by Miss A.M. Frayling.
Okay.
Frank was doing well. In fact, he won.
Oh, that's
Yes.
awesome.
But sadly, it was discovered when Miss Frayling and race officials came to congratulate him shortly after the race
Mhm.
that Frank had died of a heart attack
Oh shit.
while on the horse. And during the race, he in
Oh
fact
shit.
died.
During the race? Oh
Yes.
god.
He managed to hang on for the rest of it when Sweet Kiss crossed the finish line by a head, making Frank the first and so far only jockey to only jockey known to have won a race after death.
That's a feat.
Mhm. Sweet Kiss never raced again, and it is claimed Sweet Kiss was nicknamed Sweet Kiss of Death for the
I
rest of her
bet.
life.
Which is not fair to the horse. It wasn't the horse's
it wasn't
fault.
her fault. The newspapers blamed that like weight loss for why he had that sudden weight loss for why he had a heart attack.
I mean, depending on how fast he lost the weight, yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. So Martha Mansfield,
Okay.
a pretty accomplished actress of her time.
I feel like I know the name Mansfield.
Yeah, well, there was Jane Mansfield. She was another actress.
Hmm.
She was in some Broadway productions and quite a lot of them. It looks like she was in Ziegfeld, which is a pretty big name in Broadway of that time.
Okay.
And then she was in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde with John Barrymore.
Nice.
On November 29th, 1923, while working on location in San Antonio, Texas, on the film The Warrens of Virginia, Mansfield was severely burned when a tossed match ignited her Civil War costume of hoop skirts and flimsy ruffles. Mansfield was playing the role of Agatha Warren and had just finished her scenes and retired to a car when her clothing burst into flames.
Oh shit.
Yeah, her neck and face were saved when leading man Wilfred Lytell threw his heavy overcoat over her. The chauffeur of Mansfield's car was burned badly on his hands while trying to remove the burning clothing from the actress.
Damn.
The fire was put out, but she sustained substantial burns to her body.
Whew.
She was rushed to the hospital where she died the following day of burns of all extremities, general toxemia, and suppression of urine.
Okay.
Mansfield was 24 years old. It was never determined who threw the match that ignited Mansfield's clothing.
Hmm.
Some witnesses said they saw a match enter the window of the car Mansfield was sitting in. Another theory was that a nervous Mansfield decided to smoke a cigarette in the car to calm her nerves and accidentally ignited the dress with a dropped match or a cigarette.
Yeah, it's possible.
Mansfield's mother, Harriet Ehrlich, dismissed this theory as she said smoking made her daughter uncomfortable.
Well, that would complicate things a little bit there.
Yeah. Okay, so Thornton Jones,
Okay.
1924.
Okay.
He was a lawyer in Bangor, Gwynedd, Wales. Woke up to find that he had his throat slit. Motioning for a paper and pencil, he wrote, "I dreamt that I had done it. I awoke to find it true," and died 80 minutes later. He had done it himself while unconscious. An inquest at Bangor delivered a verdict of suicide while temporarily insane.
What the hell? Temporarily insane. More like temporarily unconscious.
Yeah.
But how do you not wake yourself up cutting your own throat? Oh
Right?
my god.
Wait, maybe I need to go into that one a little bit further. That's crazy.
Yeah, that one needs a deep dive. I'm telling you, because that's a crazy story.
Bobby Leach,
Okay.
April 26, 1926. Bobby Leach, an American stunt performer, died after a botched amputation of the infected leg, which he had broken after slipping on an orange peel.
Really?
He had gone over Niagara Falls in a barrel 15 years earlier.
Jesus Christ. At least it wasn't a banana peel.
That'd be
Thank
such
you,
a cliche.
90s cartoons.
Philip McLean, also 1926.
Okay.
Philip McQueen, 16, and his brother were clubbing a cassowary, which is like a flightless bird. We'll put a picture up.
Okay.
On the family property in Mossman, Queensland, Australia.
Right.
When it knocked him down, kicked him in the neck, and opened a large cut, leading to death from loss of blood.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez. I mean, I feel like it was kind of deserved.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. I mean, and it was Australia. Listen, everything's out to kill you in Australia. Come on.
That is 100%. Like, I mean, and why make an animal suffer by clubbing it? Like,
Well, I think clubbing an animal actually means that, like, being in a hunting club for that animal.
okay, I don't know. Maybe that's it. It was a club of boys trying to, but I mean, it sounds more like he was physically clubbing a cassowary with a bat, because why would it like jump up and kick just him?
I don't know.
I mean, you'd have to be close if you were trying to hunt. Like, I don't feel like you would be close if you were trying to shoot it.
Yeah. Well, okay. Let me see a picture.
Of a cassowary?
Yeah, I gotta see a picture of this bird. Maybe it'll make more sense if I see the bird. If that's it, that's an ugly bird. Okay. So it's like a damn kiwi.
It looks very similar to a oh my god, what are
Think an
those things
ostrich with a freaking blue neck, but it's like the size of a kiwi.
No, the things that have the really pretty feathers. Peacocks. Kind of looks similar to, like, in size to a peacock without the fancy feathers.
That is not the same size as a peacock, baby.
Oh yeah, it's bigger.
That's the size of a kiwi.
Yeah.
Okay. I still, I'm not entirely sure why they would be hitting it with a club, knowing the size of that bird. I will put pictures up on YouTube and stuff like that, but that bird is huge. So I'm wondering if it was actually a club hunting. By the way, did you know that the Australian Army lost a war against a flightless bird?
Huh.
Yep, the Kiwis. They actually lost to a damn bird.
Okay, so apparently they have extremely sharp claws.
Yeah, they're a lot like the Kiwis.
Is what I'm seeing there. So
I'm not entirely sure.
yeah, me neither.
Okay, anyway.
Isadora Duncan.
She got some donuts.
September 14th, 1927. She was an American dancer, pretty accomplished American dancer, traveled all over the world in a dancing group.
Okay.
She was in Nice, France, in a old time automobile called an Amelicar CGSS. When her long scarf became entangled in the open spoked wheel and rear axle of the
Hmm.
automobile, and it broke her neck.
That sucks.
Yeah, kind of.
You know what that reminds me of though? You remember Edna from The Incredibles?
I was just gonna say that.
No capes. No capes.
hmm Have to go with Edna on that one.
No doubt. No scarves.
Yeah, no long scarves.
Yeah. God.
So Enoch Arnold Bennett,
Okay.
May 27th, 1867 to March 27th, 1931, was an English author best known as a novelist who wrote prolifically.
Okay.
Between the 1890s and the 1930s, he completed 34 novels, 7 volumes of short stories, 13 plays, some in collaboration with other writers, and a daily journal totaling more than 1 million words. He wrote articles and stories for more than 100 newspapers and periodicals, worked in and briefly ran the Ministry of Information in the First World War, and he wrote for the cinema in the 1920s. Sales of his books were substantial, and he was the most financially successful British author of his day.
Wow.
hmm Well, he was dining in a restaurant with his wife Dorothy in Paris, and he drank 2 glasses of tap water during the meal. He
Uh-oh.
scoffed at his wife's claims that the water in Paris was not safe to drink.
Dumbass.
Within 2 days, he contracted typhoid fever and died from it 2 months later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Listen to your wife.
I like to write, but damn, that's a lot.
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he wrote a lot.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, Stewart's going to be jealous.
Oh, you ain't even gonna lie. Yeah. Oh, man. I'm just, like, I know that you said that was in the 30s, so, like, there had to have been typewriters and stuff like that, but I was just thinking, like, handwriting, all that stuff. I'm like, fuck that.
So, Ebenezer McBurney Byers, like to go by Eben.
That's a
Eben.
name.
April 12th, 1880 to March 31st, 1932.
Okay.
An American socialite, sportsman, and industrialist.
Oh.
He won the 1906 U.S. Amateur in golf.
Okay.
In 1927, Eben injured his arm falling from a train sleeping bunk.
Ouch.
Yes. And a doctor suggested he take Radithor for the persistent pain in his arm.
Oh, no.
Radithor was a patent medicine manufactured by William J.A. Bailey.
I think I know where this is going.
Bailey was a Harvard University dropout who falsely claimed to be a doctor of medicine. Bailey became very rich from the sales of Radithor, a solution of radium in water.
Yep, that's what I thought it was.
Which he claimed stimulated the endocrine system.
Oh, it stimulated it all right.
He offered physicians a 1/6 kickback on each dose prescribed.
Oh, God.
Yes. Good old Ebenezer began taking several doses of Radithor per day, believing it gave him a toned up feeling.
Holy shit.
After taking some 1,400 doses by
shit.
October 1930, he stopped taking it when that effect faded. He had lost weight, had headaches, and his teeth began to fall out.
Imagine that.
In 1931, the Federal Trade Commission asked him to testify about his experience, but he was too sick to travel.
I bet.
So the commission sent a lawyer to take his statement at his home.
Okay.
The lawyer reported that Eden's entire upper jaw, with exception to two front teeth, and most of his lower jaw had been removed.
Oh gosh.
All the remaining bone tissue of his body was disintegrating, and holes were forming in his skull.
Yeah, I don't doubt that at all.
He died on March 31st, 1932. Official cause of death was radiation poisoning,
Mm-hmm.
but it was actually due to cancer, not acute radiation syndrome.
Oh, okay.
Yes. He's buried in Allegheny Cemetery in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in a lead lined coffin.
Yeah, he'd have to be.
Byers' death received much publicity and it heightened awareness of the dangers of radioactive cures.
Yeah.
The Federal Trade Commission issued an order against Bailey's business to cease and desist from various representations theretofore made by them as the therapeutic value of Radithor, and from representing that the product Radithor is harmless.
Yeah.
He later founded the Radium Institute in New York and
Oh boy.
marketed a radioactive belt clip, a radioactive paperweight, and a mechanism with which purported to make water radioactive.
I thought I'd heard about this because I've heard of that belt buckle before. Because there was guys that was like they'd wear that belt buckle and suddenly things that should work don't work, and they couldn't figure out why.
Mhm. After exhuming Breyer's body in 1965, MIT physicist Robley Evans estimated Byers' total radium intake as about 1,000 upside down H, capital C, lowercase I.
It's micro. I don't know what the CI stands for. No, it can't be cubic something. The upside down H is micro though. That's Latin or Greek letter for micro.
Okay.
That's a lot. I think whatever it is.
So, Radithor contained one microcurie each of isotopes 226Ra and 228Ra. He drank a total of around 1,400 dosage, which concentrated in his bones, continually irradiating him.
Holy crap. That is a massive amount. And not to get too chemically sciencey whatever on you, but the 226 and the 228 they're both radium. They're the same thing. They just have different molecular atomic whatever. So
Gotcha.
they're the same thing. They're the same thing, people.
Okay, so that is it for me.
Oh, whew. Went off on a radioactive
No.
end
I
there.
had thought you would like that one because you're sciencey.
I am
and
sciencey.
I'm sure you
And I had heard
knew about it before.
Yeah, I'd heard. I hadn't heard his case specifically, but I've definitely heard about the radium guy because I'm like, oh my god, and people fell for it.
Yeah.
The thing that as much as I hate like doctors and stuff like that, the advances in medicine when you hear about stuff like ketchup, Coca-Cola, those were all forms of medicine back in the day.
No, ketchup was like a common condiment that it was like just something that people would put on their rotten meat to make it taste better.
Oh.
So that they didn't waste it.
Then what was it?
Coca-Cola was medicine.
Yeah. Oh, no. It's cereal. It was the guy that made cornflakes,
yes,
Kellogg's.
Cornflakes. It was meant to be it wasn't necessarily a medicine. It was meant to be nourishment for people who couldn't eat whole foods.
Yeah, but it was also supposed to be like a suppressant for masturbation.
Yes, at some point, yeah.
Anyway. Yeah.
Or no, his granola was like something that he made for his patients.
Right.
To help them. You know what? Me and my dad were talking about that recently because Dr. Kellogg did TB patients.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, tuberculosis, yeah.
My grandma had TB, and after he had during his pregnancy with my dad, her pregnancy with my dad, and after. And it wasn't until he was like 4 months old that she ended up going to like a TB ward.
Yeah.
And
which is an unfortunate location.
Yes, and my grandfather went out there to visit, and like they had said that she was doing so well that they moved her from the main building out into a cabin. And it was all about like the cold air was supposed to help them. She was like freezing to death out in the cabin, so he just took her home
Yeah.
and saved her life.
I mean, there was this really strong belief. Granted, people took it way, way the wrong direction, but there was this belief that, like, fresh, clean air, getting away from the pollution of
Yeah,
the
the
modern
cities and
city,
stuff
whatever
was
was.
supposed to be a cure-all for
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
In this one really weird case where this guy moved to Colorado, it did help.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine it did help some, but it didn't help to have someone with TB sitting in the cold exposure for long hours.
No, that's why I said there was some areas that took that way to the wrong direction and just kind of abandoned people. In a different, sadder note, I'm going to give you a fact first. You ready for this? On the 18th of September, which is when this episode airs, 1970, do you know who passed away?
No.
Jimi Hendrix.
Oh.
At age 27.
Part of the 27 Club.
Mm-hmm.
Should do that one sometime.
Yeah. I was actually thinking about that here recently. But speaking of Jimi Hendrix and September 18th, the 18th of September has been designated in the United States as National Respect Day.
Wait a minute. September 18th, I'm pretty sure, is my grandmother's birthday.
Yeah. Yeah, you brought that up last week. I wasn't entirely sure about that. As far
Happy
as
birthday, Grandma, even though you've been dead since 1992.
Right. Knowing that it's National Respect Day in the United States, I feel like some people should be slapped with that National Respect Day fact, because we really need some around here. Anyway, my last random fact for September 18th is that in 1851, the New York Times published its first paper. So, you asked me what my story was this week, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember back when I was talking about Sonny Bean? And you said something about how people randomly just disappear in the woods and stuff like that, and just really strange cases? Well, it got me kind of thinking about this particular topic.
Okay.
Have you heard of the missing 411?
No, I have not.
Well, the short and short of it, missing 411 is these really weird cases of people disappearing, and being found or not found. And there's just something off about each case.
Okay.
Now, that being said, a former police officer and a very strong believer in Bigfoot, David Pilatus, focused his investigative skills on the search for proof of Bigfoot. Okay. All after he retired, of course. He went so far with this that he wound up writing several books on the search for Bigfoot. But Bigfoot isn't what I'm here to talk about this week.
Damn it.
Not yet.
I love Bigfoot.
I know you do, but I'm not there yet.
Bigfoot has to wear pants.
That's a book. That's a book we have.
It's like I bought this like monster set, cryptid set for Annie, and the Bigfoot story is that the park ranger is telling him that he has to wear clothes. And Bigfoot's like, but Bigfoots don't wear clothes.
Right.
It's fucking cute.
It is a very cute story. Are all of her cryptid books, man? I love those.
Yes, they're very cute.
Anyway, while doing some research on Bigfoot, David was at one of the national parks in the U.S., and he was speaking to an off-duty park ranger when the park ranger said something kind of interesting.
Oh?
Yeah. He said, all those people going missing in the forest and stuff like that, the ones that really bug me the most are the really weird circumstances when they disappear.
Hmm.
And, of course, David's like, well, what do you mean? And the Rangers goes on to tell him that there are some really weird circumstances and actually asked David if he would use his investigative skills to look into these cases.
Okay.
And so was born the missing 411.
Yay.
Recording all of the information from each and every case that David himself investigated, he self-published his findings in a series of books, The Missing 411.
Okay.
He's actually published 10 so far that are just based around the missing 411. People have read and reviewed these books, and David himself will actually tell you that they give absolutely no solution to the questions around the cases themselves. He doesn't have an answer. But what they do provide us with is a bunch of coincidences between these cases. Some of them being like the distance covered in a very short amount of time, because there'll be like some cases where, person goes missing point A and they find them within 12 hours at point B that is 15, 20, 30 miles away.
Wow.
Yeah, some crazy stuff. And then there's other ones that are like how quickly the person vanished, which I have one of those stories today.
Okay.
Other circumstances is like where locations where the person's found, whether it be live or dead, because there are several cases where they're found unfortunately passed. These locations would be nearly impossible to be reached by even trained professionals, let alone the person that was found. The ones that get kind of eerie are the ones that have the statements from the survivors, because they talk about like they were kidnapped by a creature of some sort, or they were cared for by a creature of some sort, or they have missing time, but their bodies are absolutely unaffected. Like there's one case where guys hiking or not hiking. There's one case where this guy's skiing, and you watch his tracks go out to a frozen lake, and then they vanish, and then 15 months later he reappears, and no dehydration, no like signs of being gone, no nothing, and he's wakes up in the field naked one day.
Okay.
Yeah, this series does point out a flaw in our park services, though. Okay,
Yeah.
well, the United States National Park Services do not have a way to, or at this time, don't record the people that go missing. There's a petition that's been formed in hopes to isolate the locations, or in help in future cases.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Because in a lot of it, it's like if we say, "Hey, this person went missing here, we found them here, maybe we should start looking here," it would help. At least that's
Yeah.
the hopes of it. No updates so far, though, on that. The 411 series and its subsequent films have brought so much attention and popularity to these cases that nearly everyone that knows about it has a theory, ranging from cryptids and to aliens to feral mountain people, which you've brought up before.
Yes. Well, no, American Horror Story brought that up.
Okay. And alternate dimensions.
The
And
theory is that there is just like different families in the deep wooded area, uninhabitable area. We consider uninhabitable areas of our national parks. There are families that have just inbred in there and living off the land, and they like to kidnap people and eat them.
yeah. And actually, if you talk to like some indigenous people, or, we're in a good area for it. You ask enough around a Native American culture that you'll hear some form of the mountain people, which is literally that what you just described.
Yeah, like Sonny Bean.
Yep.
Yeah, and it sounds believable. And like the theory on American Horror Story was that the government and the parks people know about this. They just don't say anything because they don't have a solution, and they
Right.
don't want to come up with one, and they don't want mass hysteria about it because these places are so remote
Yeah.
in these parks.
Yeah. Well, that being said, the list of theories just goes on and on and on. Um, One of his books has even investigated what some have come to call the smiley face killings,
Okay.
mostly because there's a smiley face at every location that a body's been found.
I think I've seen a TikTok or something like that about that.
I know it was brought up on, and that's why we drink. One of them had brought it up at one point. I guess there's two smiley face killers. Like one's a legit serial killer. They found him. They know who it is. They know what the case is. The other one's these weird cases.
Okay.
And one part that makes them really weird is that like majority of them are declared drowning victims, which would imply that they drowned,
Right.
but they didn't. Their autopsy shows they did not drown.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a weird one, but because of my interest in all the strange and paranormal and all that, as we all know by now, plus I have this really strong desire to spend time camping and hiking,
Mm-hmm.
I thought I would tell you and our listeners a couple of these 411 cases.
As long as it's not somewhere where we have to hike really steep.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're gonna have to deal with my heavy breathing.
If you listen to our Ouija board episode, you know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I'm not good at steep hills.
Yeah.
Short legs. I'm shape challenged, and I have asthma.
Yeah.
I need to
Well,
bring an inhaler for these things.
yeah, that's for sure. We found that out doing our little hike up to where our Ouija board location was. That
Yeah,
that's not smart to attempt without a
inhaler.
inhaler. About said without a Ouija board. Yeah. Okay.
That too. I guess.
Anyway. um. So I'm gonna start with the case of Bobby Panknin. Panknin. I have a hard
Pumpkin.
time saying his name.
Pumpkin.
It's spelled Panknin,
Pumpkin.
and even the several places I've heard it like said it four different ways while they were telling the story. I'm like,
Okay,
all right,
just call him Bobby.
yeah, we'll just stick with Bobby. So, in Stevens County in Washington State, there's this place called Deep Lake Resorts. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
just a nice little camping area. Well, on the 3rd of August, 1963, Bobby, his mom, his dad, and his two older brothers were doing just that. They were camping.
Mm.
Well, since it was a nice afternoon and they were having fun, mom decides to take the brothers, all three of them, down this trail to this like creek. Apparently, it has a pretty cutesy, nice looking waterfall at the end of it.
Okay.
So she wanted to take them down there so they would be able to see it and have fun, you know?
In the water, yeah.
Yeah. Well, as they're going down this trail, one of the older brothers stops and he looks down the trail and he, pulls one of the check this out, mom, situations. We've been there, done that with our kids. And starts going down the hill to go out by the creek bed. Mom looks back at Bobby and the other brother and says, all right, I'm going to go down the hill. You stay right here with Bobby. Okay. Because at this time, Bobby is 4 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So he needs a little bit of supervision.
Yeah.
And so Bobby's brother, Jimmy, says, okay, mom, I'll stay right here. Well, of course, kids get bored.
Mm-hmm.
And when one kid's doing something, the other ones want to be involved. We know how that goes.
Yeah.
So Jimmy turns to Bobby and tells Bobby, hey, stay right here. And he goes down to his mom.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Now, where they're at, there's like this bush
Mm-hmm.
It's not a very big bush, but it obscures the view of Bobby just enough. Okay. Well, when Jimmy gets down to his mom, instantly she goes, "What the hell? You left Bobby by himself." So they turn around, head back up to go get Bobby. He's gone.
Oh shit.
Mm-hmm. They're less than 150 feet away at this point. Like, from where they were to where Bobby was, less than 150 feet. And he
Okay.
sat down on the trail. Okay. So, in the amount of time it took them to, like, be like, ah, fuck, and get back up the hill, he couldn't have gone very far. Especially because at the time, he's only wearing these bright blue swim trunks.
Mm-hmm.
He's barefoot, not wearing a shirt, nothing to help him get that far away that fast. So, mom being frustrated with the older brothers, like, you left him alone. Fine, we got to start looking for him. So they start calling out to him, and even though it had been less than 2 minutes, he's like nowhere to be found.
Wow.
Yep.
Like my worst nightmare.
Yeah. And thing is, though, like I said, 150 feet away, it'd been less than like 2 minutes for him to go down there, find out,
Right.
it wasn't very long. Kid's barefoot. He's wearing bright clothing, well, bright shorts, and he's bright blonde.
Right.
He should be able to stick out in a bunch of trees,
Mm-hmm.
Well, they didn't see him. They didn't even see signs of him. And the trail they're on's actually pretty rocky, too.
Right.
And if you look on either side of the trail, it's like thorn bushes and foliage, and there's no way in hell he's running off through the woods and barefoot, especially not at 4 years old.
Gotcha.
So they start doing a more intense search, like calling out for him, looking around for any sign of him. And within an hour of searching, mom's like, okay, he's missing. Like, they weren't panicking at first, but after an hour, she was panicking. She grabs the brothers, haul ass back to dad. They go find ranger station and say, hey, our son Bobby, 4 years old, is missing. We need help finding him. Wasn't very long afterwards, the police showed up to start this investigation looking for missing 4-year-old Bobby. And one of their very first questions is, okay, you were close. What did you hear?
Right.
And all of them are like, we didn't hear anything. And they're like, wait, you didn't, no sounds of animals, no sounds of people, no sounds of him screaming, no running away, no nothing. You didn't hear anything? And they're like, no, absolutely nothing. So, not a good starting point. And the creek that they were looking at wasn't very deep. So, it wasn't like he ran down the hill real fast, fell in, and got swept away either.
Right.
Well, within 3 days of searching, over 4,000 volunteers got involved looking for Bobby.
Okay.
And this included some bloodhounds. And a little interesting sign here about the bloodhounds. They give the dogs his scent, right? From where he was at, they catch the scent immediately and they start taking their handlers down the trail.
Okay.
About a mile down the trail, granted, we're talking 2 minutes time, the kid disappeared. It's kind of crazy. But about a mile down this trail, there's a fork in the trail.
Mm-hmm.
Scent stops there. The dogs are like pounding it right where the fork splits.
Huh.
And so, the handlers are looking around. They start moving brush away and stuff like that. No sign. No sign of Bobby. So like, maybe they're confused. All right. So they hand the smell back to the dogs. And instantly dogs are like, nope, here's the spot. Right here. Dig here. Nothing. No
Wow.
sign, nothing.
Well, did they dig there?
They looked. They did all kinds of search and everything, and nothing was there. There wasn't even a sign that people had been there.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was pretty confusing. But after 7 days, they actually wound up calling off the search because there was absolutely no sign of Bobby anywhere in the woods in that area. They even gave out a press release and saying that they had no idea. And when the lead investigator had been had sat down for an interview over how this thought process was they told the interview that initially they had thought like, okay, he was abducted,
Mm-hmm.
but for him having to be abducted, there wasn't that many people around them at all. Like I think they said the nearest campsite was over, half mile away, so kind of less likely that somebody would be there. But for Bobby not to have made a noise, for him to have been captured and hauled off in less than a 2-minute time frame and leaving no trace whatsoever, the person had to have been extremely athletic, had to have been planning the attack and waiting for the perfect moment, which, with the older brother being left with him, that would have been a deterrent in the first place.
Yeah.
So he would literally been watching to wait for the perfect moment to strike, which is even more unlikely. So
Yeah.
that's when the investigators are like, okay, maybe it was an animal attack. So they went back with dog searches that they sniff for bears. They didn't even alert. No bears in the area. So like, okay, wasn't a bear. Maybe it was a cougar or like mountain lion or something like that. Well, they brought in experts to look around. Nope, no signs of bigger predators.
Wow.
Also, another complication with the bigger predator theory is there was no drag marks, no sounds, no marks, no nothing, even blood. There was no sign of a bigger predator. So the investigators are like, all right, maybe it was an eagle. It would explain the no tracks, no sounds. They just swooped in, picked up a 4-year-old and flew off.
Wow.
And that's when they were like, we've gotten to the point where we're talking a bird picking up a kid and flying off. We have absolutely no idea. And that's when they set out the press release that they didn't know.
Holy shit.
Yep. And to this day, the case still remains unsolved.
Wow. Why you gotta give the unsolved ones? I don't like those.
Well, I mean, it was a good one to start with.
Yeah.
And see, here's my thing about it, though. If you look up this case on the 411 or some websites that actually talk more in depth on the 411 cases, they give a description of Bobby at the time of his disappearance. And I'm like, this was 1963.
Yeah.
I don't think his 4-year-old description is going to matter a whole lot now.
No, probably not.
So
Nobody's done like the aging process thing.
I actually don't know on that one.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to do all the way from over on the West Coast. We're going to come pretty close to home. Because do you know what the highest point in New York State is?
No.
The highest point in New York State at 5,343 feet, or about 1,629 meters, is known as Mount Marcy.
Okay.
It is in Keene, New York, about 220 miles from us, or roughly a 4-hour drive. And that is the heart of the Adirondack Mountains.
Okay.
Okay. Well, that being said, we've lived here. You've lived here for years. April is a really bad time for wanting to do any outdoor activity, especially hiking.
Yes.
Because the further you go up in the mountains, especially here in New York, you get extreme weather changes, and the trail markers, even though they're bright yellow and stick out pretty damn good, they can get buried in snow very quickly.
Yes.
Which that leads to people that are like at the summit coming on their way back down, getting off the trail and finding what are called Panther Gorge, which are about 50-foot drops of snow. They just plop, and you can suffocate or be crushed by that amount of snow. So
yeah.
Well, that being said, Stephen Thomas, okay, his childhood friend Bruce Weaver calls him up and says, "Hey, me and a group of friends are going to go on a hike, overnight hike up Mount Marcy. You want to join us?"
No.
Yeah,
In April? No, thank you.
that's kind of what I was thinking. But Stephen at this time is age 19, and he is pretty experienced with hiking. He's been to the West Coast. He's done the mountains. He's eager to get more explorative as he gets further along in his life.
Okay.
So he says yes, he's going to do this. And this group is Bruce, Steven, and 4 other people and a dog. And keep the dog in mind, okay? The 4 other people involved are Mark Seymour, James Thackerberry, Ken Sherwood, and Robert Bromley. Now, this hike was supposed to begin on the 11th of April, 1976.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that morning, Steve's mom, she wants to be nice and makes breakfast for him, right?
Okay.
Well, she's also really superstitious. And I mean really superstitious. She winds up adding too much baking soda in her pancakes and declares it's a horrible omen. It's a bad omen. You shouldn't do this. And on top of that, you're going up a mountain with people you don't know.
In April.
In April, Jesus. But one out of 5 other people that's not great odds for comfort,
Right.
But she's worried about it. But Steve says, I'm pretty experienced at this point. I'm good. I'll be with a friend. It's only a couple nights. I'll be back by the end of the weekend. So he goes.
Okay.
Okay. Steve winds up driving up to Cayuga Lake to meet Bruce, and they wind up driving together up to Lake Clear so they can meet up with the others. Now, later interviews, everyone states that Steve was pretty standoffish. Like, even though they understood, hey, none of us know you and you don't know us, he didn't even want to try to be friendly.
Okay.
So didn't have a great start to it, but they were like, you know what, hey, it's fine. He knows Bruce. They're gonna hike together. We're gonna hike with everybody. It'll be a thing. It's fine.
Okay.
So Bruce and Steve wind up driving 37 miles together up to Heart Lake, which is about 2.5 miles from Marcy Dam, where Bruce and Steve set up camp for the night. Something to indicate is that this is like the split of the blue trail, which leads to Indian Falls, and the yellow trail, which leads to Avalanche Lake. But I guess because of the standoffishness, they didn't want to stay with the others that night. So they decided they were going to camp there and hike to the others in the morning.
Okay.
And then just make their way up Mount Marcy at that point. Well, according to Bruce, Steve had to have been super eager for this because he woke up well enough before Bruce that he already had basically everything packed and ready to go by the time Bruce woke up at 8 a.m.
Okay.
So he's guessing that Steve woke up probably around 6 or 7 in the morning to have everything already packed and ready to go. And he is eager. Within 30 minutes, they're on the hike. And they quickly met up with the others, and off they go for the day.
Okay.
About 3:30 that afternoon, they're gotten pretty close to the summit, okay?
Okay.
But the whole group's like exhausted, worn out from the hike, decide to call it quits for the day. We're going to set up camp here, and we'll hit the summit first thing in the morning. Everybody except for Steve. Steve still wants to go. He's still rearing to go. But he helps everybody set up. They sit around a fire for a minute, and Steve's just staring at that trail map. He's like, we're pretty damn close. So he looks over at Bruce, and he says, hey, man, you want to go for a quick walk with me and just kind of like go see how far we are? Bruce is like, no, dude, I'm done. I'm wore out. I'm tired.
I feel that.
Yeah, I'm going to sit my ass here. Well, Steve decides, I'm going to go anyway. Everybody's telling him, like, it's a bad idea. It's starting to get dark. Weather's going to get cold. It's going to change really rapidly. You shouldn't go. And besides that, we're going to hit the summit first thing in the morning. We're, just come back, chill out, relax. Yeah, he's, nope, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to go for a short walk. Whatever.
Okay.
He must not have planned to be gone very long because he didn't bring anything with him. Okay? All he's got is literally a rain jacket, one of them bright yellow rain jackets over the top of a t-shirt,
Ugh,
pair of jeans, and his
that
hiking
sounds
boots.
not comfortable.
Yeah, especially up there. April, high altitude. No, it's cold. No.
Yeah.
But according to them, it wasn't actually terrible conditions for him to do so if he was only going to be gone for a very short amount of time.
Okay.
Because the snow up there was like that hard, firm pack, so it's easy to hike on. There was a full moon at that point, so he had high visibility, and the trail markers were pretty clear, so it wasn't like he was going to be off the trail on accident, it seemed, you know.
Okay.
So everyone else wasn't really concerned about this until about an hour later.
Yeah.
When Steve still hadn't come back in about an hour, they all started getting a little worried. They're like, all right, well, let's go look for him real quick. So they put on their coats and their boots and they start shouting out for him, start walking a little ways up the trail, and realizing that they're not finding even traces of him, not hearing anything from him. They head back down, grab more gear so they can actually do a search for him. Here's a really interestingly strange part about this. You remember I said there's a dog?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so apparently this dog is really hyped up to be hiking, and he's always ready to go the moment his owner's ready to go.
Oh.
Okay, well, when they went to go get their gear and actually go for a more in-depth search for Steve, this dog refused to leave the tent.
No, poor puppy.
Yeah, he was cowering in the back of the tent, and his tail was like tucked between his legs. He was whimpering, and he was refusing to come out of the tent. So much so that he actually peed himself.
Oh.
Yeah, and kind of frustrated, but really needed to get looking for Steve. His owner's like, all right, screw it, whatever. Leave the dog in the tent. We'll deal with that later.
Right.
Don't worry. The dog was fine. They had warmers in there. He said he put the dog in the sleeping bag. He had food and water. He was perfectly fine.
You better be.
Nothing happened to the dog, but he did stay in the tent, like completely cowering and whimpering while they searched. So kind of weird for a hyper dog not to want to do this.
Right.
So anyway, they have to find him. Like they really needed to find him because the conditions that they were about to get into, if he wasn't undercover, was going to kill him. At the start of their search, around 4:30 p.m., it was already 10 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oof.
Yeah. And the way he was dressed, don't forget, it's literally just a t-shirt, jeans, boots, and a yellow rain jacket. So not even thick. With that, and you have to include the fact that the wind gusts were about 55 to 60 mile an hour recorded that day.
Oh, Jesus.
The wind chill was negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit.
Jesus.
He wasn't going to last very long without hypothermia setting in.
Think about that. We get pretty close to that here.
I know. Like you could get frostbite by the freaking...
Yeah, we get like 20-mile-an-hour winds and...
Yeah, it's pretty
negative
rough.
like 6 degrees.
Mm-hmm. Well, with the group starting to feel the impact of the weather themselves while they're searching for him, they head back to their tents to, turn in for the night. They're hoping Steve found some freaking
shelter.
Yeah, thank you. They're hoping that Steve found shelter because they can't handle the weather themselves. They have to turn in. But early the next morning, like the moment the sun peaked, they get up. The 13th of April at this point, they start the search again. They've got all the gear. They're ready to look for him. After several hours with absolutely no sign of Steve, they regroup. They gather back up at the tents, and they make the decision to split. So 3 of them are going to stay. 3 of them are going to head back down to the Rangers and tell them, hey, our buddy's missing. We have a problem. Okay. This winds up spurring what becomes the largest search effort recorded in New York State.
Wow.
With 2 weeks of helicopters, dogs, search and rescue, police, volunteers, and his own family looking for him, nothing. Not a single sign.
Wow.
Steve's older brother, Bob, actually winds up quitting his job and moving to the Mount Marcy area so he can spend literally the next year searching every single day for his brother. Some of the veteran park rangers would actually joke that Bob knew the mountain better than they did.
Wow.
It's estimated that he would have traveled about 2,500 miles by foot,
Holy shit.
and he had summited the mountain over 600 times, taking a different route every single time.
Wow.
And all that, no sign of Stephen.
Hmm.
Even more mind-blowing is that he actually wound up finding a missing hiker from 3 years previously.
Wow.
So, with there still being no clue today of what happened to Stephen, the 411 part of it is like the dog's reaction being really weird and just no sign of Stephen.
Even though
including
his brother's seen every inch of the mountain.
Yeah, he's
obviously.
seen every inch of the mountain, and he found somebody else that was missing. Like, something happened, and it is weird.
Right.
So, I don't know, man. That being said, though, like, talking about these cases also made me want to bring up. You remember me telling you about the stairs in the staircases in the woods?
Yes, you made me listen to a couple creepy stories about it.
Yeah, I really want to do that story. Problem is, I don't know whether it's a creepypasta or it's a true thing. Because if you go on Reddit, like, it's the original post of it, and there's comments, oh, this is a creepypasta / no sleep, you know, it's just out there, blah, 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 blah. But then the guy that posted is like, I'm the one that posted the story. This is true. This is coming from me. But I don't know. I got to do a little more research into that.
Okay, I'm excited to hear about it.
Yeah, because there is some creepy ass stories about that.
I'm sure there are.
Yeah. So that's what I got.
How about the word of the day?
Yeah. What we got?
Comparison.
Comparison?
Comparison.
Okay.
To provide with or as if with a rich ornamental covering or adorn.
Why couldn't we just say adorn?
I don't know. The street lampposts were caparisoned in patriotic bunting for the parade.
I don't like this word.
Did you know? Caparison first embellished English in the 1500s when we borrowed it from the Middle French caparicon.
Okay.
Caparison. Early caparisons were likely used to display the heraldic colors of a horseman, and in some cases may also have functioned as protective covering for the horse. In British India, it was elephants, not horses, that were decked out with caparisons. And to this day, both animals can still be seen in such attire during parades and circuses.
Right.
It did not take long for caparison to come to refer to the ornate clothing worn by a man or woman. Caparison also serves English as a verb, first used by Shakespeare when Richard III commanded, "Come bustle, bustle, caparison my horse."
I still don't like this word. Oh, gosh.
So yeah, that's it. Tell them where they can find us.
All right. Well, you can find us on any podcasting platform. At least I'm pretty sure it's any one of them. We're on all the social medias except for Twitter. We're doing our best. We're trying, but we're out there. All of that's under This and That with Me and You.
And then if you want to email us any personal stories or any comments or anything, you can email us at tatwmay1@gmail.com.
That's tatwmay1@gmail.com.
And subscribe, like, share, comment.
Do all them social media things.
All the social media stuffs.
Yep.
Follow, whatever.
Yeah, do it all. Do it all. We need it all.
All right, so have a day.
Yeah, have a day.
I love you, babe.
Love you too, babe.
Bye.
Bye.